Welcome to Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins.
Thanks for watching this clip of our interview with Chef Jeremy Fox.
For the full episode, find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Links in the description below. Well, let's jump into today's ingredient because I was so excited when we heard that you wanted to talk about persimmons. And a couple things jumped into my mind. One is I feel like it's such a California ingredient. Mm-hmm. We do see it in New York. Mm-hmm. I think of a chef like Ignacio Matos, who I will, occasionally will be using it in salads and different. But we don't see a lot of persimmons in New York.
One of my favorite chefs.
Yeah, Ignacio's great. Talk to it. Why do you want to talk about persimmons? Where do you get your persimmons? I mean, I have a million questions about persimmons.
So, I always liked persimmons, but during the first fall of COVID, I had for years been watching people make hoshigaki on Instagram, which is the Japanese method of preserving the persimmons, of hanging them and massaging them. And I never saw anyone actually do anything with them. I just saw people make them, and then no one ever used them. But I was always looking for projects during that time, and I decided I wanted to try my hand at it. So I got about 100 hachia persimmons and made hoshigaki, and I just kind of got addicted to that. And the next year we did about 1,000. The next year we did about 2,500.
Oh my gosh. Where do you have
them up? Where are all they?
Everywhere in the restaurant. They're over the kitchen pass, we have strings strung up above the dining room area. We have them in the private dining room.
Do you have pictures of this?
Oh yeah,
I would love to see that. Sorry,
I've got lots of pictures. I've got too many pictures. I don't know. It was this thing where, especially during COVID, where we didn't have any control over things, but this was something that we could embrace, and everyone could kind of see the progression of the persimmons as they, from the time they came in until they were done several months later. It was kind of watching children grow up. And we got a little bit too crazy. So we eventually settled down to about 800, which is enough to fill the dining room and the private dining room. It was really hard to keep up with 2,500, making sure we're massaging them every day. That takes a long time, especially when they're high up and you need to be on a ladder. Just out of consistency, we had to kind of take it down a notch. But between October and January, February, the restaurant is covered in persimmons, and they're everywhere, and it's beautiful, and it ties the room together like Lebowski's rug.
Perfect. Do they give off an aroma when they're drying?
No, they give off no aroma, and people always ask, why they don't attract bugs, but that's because when we peel them and we hang them, they're very astringent. The hachia persimmons are the ones you have to wait until they get really soft to use. So nothing wants them when they're unripe, and then by the time they sweeten, you've already kind of built a force field, so nothing can really penetrate it, and then you're good to go for aging them.
How long is the aging process?
The aging process of hanging is about 2 to 3 months, and then after that, transfer them to either bags or containers, and then every week or two, we'll take them out, give them a little roll with a rolling pin or just a little massage with our hands, and then put them back in. And I find that cutting off the oxygen and then reintroducing it seems to really speed up the sugar bloom process, the exterior that gets coated with this white sugar.
I feel like the same thing during COVID. I saw a lot of videos going up. One chef up in Maine, Melissa Kelly, I remember her doing videos of drying hachias. And is anything added to them? It's simply peeled and then hung. There's no sugars added, no anything. It's almost, it's a little bit like the prosciutto of fruit. Mm-hmm. 2 to 3 months.
It is exactly that. It is exactly the prosciutto of fruit.
How do you know when they're ready to go?
By tasting them. They also just continue to age, and they continue to mature, and they'll change over time. Like I've saved a certain amount from every year. So I have kind of like a flight from 2020 till current. Mm-hmm. The older they get, the the more sugar is on them, and they get more almost brown sugary, almost like they're caramelizing over time. But that's it. Yeah.
And then how would you use them in the restaurant at that point?
So we use them a lot of different ways. We've done I do these cakes sometimes. It's like a butter cake. We freeze in a lot of persimmon pulp or meat during the winter, so we can kind of have it all year. But it's this like persimmon butter cake, and then I kind of make a persimmon puree, and then top it with slices of hoshigaki, and it's beautiful. I think it's one of the prettiest things I've ever made. We do we've done this baked sweet potato casserole that's topped with red walnuts and brown butter and slices of hoshigaki. We've done rice pudding with them. Done kind of like chicken liver boats. Like I'll cut them in half lengthwise and then pipe chicken liver mousse and truffles and crispy chicken skin on them, and you just pick it up and eat it.
Awesome.
Like a little hors d'oeuvre. We're always trying to find new ways to use them because we usually have a surplus, and we make more than enough to last us throughout the year until the next season.
That's pretty awesome.
Are you using them in any other, are you only using the dried or the, preserved, or are you also using persimmons in fresh applications?
Usually I'll use the fuyu persimmons in fresh applications. So we have a dish that we bring back every year. I call it the persimmon enigma, but it is just the fuyu persimmons. Sometimes they're, specific varieties. We'll just kind of cut them up in pieces. We have to taste every persimmon because a lot of times they will be astringent. You can't tell. So we taste every persimmon that we use, but it's just like chunks of persimmon on burrata, and then it's a yuzu kosho vinaigrette, and then an anchovy oil, and that's it. It's a very simple dish, and people just go crazy for it.
We really should have gone to the restaurant for this interview.
Well, we got to go in the fall when the season is on. So it's funny. I have a couple interesting things because I think I mentioned at the top of the show, I always think of it as such a California ingredient. And before we did today's show, I love Alice Waters' book titled Fruits. I also love the vegetables book, but I opened up and read the chapter about persimmon, and I thought it was very interesting. I think they originated in Asia, but it's also, I learned it's also native to the United States, the persimmon on the East Coast.
Yeah, they were brought here in 1890.
No, but they are native species,
really?
An original species that,
interesting,
according to that book, that occurs naturally or in the wild on the eastern
That's really cool.
United States, which I thought was cool, but you never really see them here. And it also reminded me of another story because I also think of them as a very Italian ingredient because in the autumn in northern Italy, there's a lot of persimmons. And I'm going to digress for a second because I was taking a flight back from Milan a couple of years ago, and going through customs, I watched the security guys at JFK Airport after we landed. This Italian woman had a duffel bag going through customs, and they opened it up, and I'm not exaggerating, she was crying. And I was like, oh my God, she's in trouble. What does she have in that bag? Does she have drugs? Does she have, pork? What does she have? And they started pulling out one by one all of these persimmons.
Did they take her persimmons?
They did, and I could only imagine it came from like her backyard family tree. She was heartbroken, and I'm like, let the woman have her persimmons.
Come on, TSA.
It was really a funny story. And as soon as you said, we learned that this episode was about that, I thought about that story. But anyhow, sorry for that digression.
I never had a persimmon until I was 26.
Yeah.
26 years old was my first persimmon.
And what was it? Was it love at first bite? Was it love at first sight?
Were you eating it like an apple, or like how were you introduced?
It was interesting. I was working at Manresa restaurant in Los Gatos, where I worked for about 5 years, and we had a dish on the menu that David put on. And I had only been in California for less than a year at that time. So I'm from the East Coast, and this was a new ingredient I never saw. And you sliced it, and it had like this really cool geometric design inside. because these are the fuyus. And
Mm-hmm.
when I came to California, there were a lot of those things. There were a lot of those moments where it's like, oh, I've never heard of this thing. Before I moved, I thought green garlic was actually green garlic cloves. Like I had no idea what green garlic was. So it was pretty eye-opening when I did move to California to see all these different ingredients.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders.
You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or your favorite specialty retailer.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders and Chef's Warehouse at Where Chefs Shop.